In education today, we are in the process of transitioning to standards designed to ensure our students will be college and career ready by the time they exit high school. The college and career readiness standards anchor and define general cross-disciplinary literacy expectations that must be met for students to be prepared to enter college and workforce training programs ready to succeed. The K-12 grade-specific standards define end-of-year expectations and a cumulative progression designed to enable students to meet college and career readiness expectations no later than the end of high school. The standards will require teachers to change their technique in educating. Instructors will need to ensure every student is prepared for the curriculum. Since teachers have the freedom to create lesson plans and adjust the teaching style to the classroom, it is possible to meet the needs of every child and help the class keep up with the changing educational requirements. Thus, the influence teachers have on the success of students is significant. While pondering the many possible instructional approaches to help students meet academic expectations, teachers must also consider environmental influences that may or may not affect student performance, including demographic pressures. These statistical groupings and the data they generate tend to become the catalyst for urgent interventions as well as ammunition for attacks on outdated teaching practices and public education as a whole. Thus, an educational approach being utilized to address these concerns requires the commitment of the entire school in a group effort. With respect to ethnicity, recent research into student achievement gaps have regrettably uncovered familiar trends in learning. In general, Anglo-American youths continue to outpace their African American and Latino American counterparts in reading and math, as well as in high school graduation rates. And although socioeconomic factors have historically explained much of this difference in achievement, there are other contributing factors that are within the control of schools in order to close this learning gap. The testing mandates of No Child Left Behind generated a plethora of information for researchers to better parse student achievement. Statistical methods were used to determine the extent to which particular factors had an influence on student learning, including class size, pupil funding, and curriculum, to name a few. When researchers ran the numbers in dozens of different studies, every factor under a school's control produced just a tiny impact, except for one: which teacher the student had been assigned to. With this in mind, teachers, in collaboration with the school at large, must select teaching strategies and approaches that best provide for their students' success. One such approach is backwards design. This simple but effective three-step approach breaks down instruction into the curriculum's big idea or objective, its culminating assessment or task, and the learning events or experiences students must participate in order to achieve academic success. Teachers, as designers in any other profession, must be mindful of their clients in that explicit goals are targeted and accomplished for specific end users. Backwards design enables educators to achieve this. By beginning with the end in mind, teachers can better develop the learning experiences students require to be successful. Good design, then, is not so much about gaining a new technical skill as it is about learning to be more thoughtful and specific about our purposes and what they imply. This shift in instruction means thinking first about the specific learning objectives sought, and then the evidence students must exhibit before thinking about what teaching and learning activities will be provided. In other words, lessons, units of study, and courses should be logically inferred from the results sought, and not derived from the methods, books, and activities with which we are most comfortable. We cannot say how to teach for understanding or which material and activities to use until we are quite clear about which specific understandings we are after and what such understandings look like in practice. What is difficult for many teachers to see, but easier for students to feel, is that without such explicit and transparent priorities, many students find day-to-day work confusing and frustrating. Wiggins and McTighe refer to two traditional instruction as twin sins of traditional design. The first is hands-on without being minds-on. which refers to instruction that merely engages students in activities. The second is referred to as coverage, wherein the teacher attempts to cover a predetermined number of textbook pages while students attempt to take detailed notes. In both cases, there are no clear priorities to frame the learning experience. Neither learning experience provides students with the point or big idea, let alone how it is supposed to help them understand or be able to do. In stage 1 of backward design, we identify the desired results. This requires ample time to examine learning objectives such as content standards, curriculum expectations, or specific units of study. Given that there is usually more content to be covered than there is time to accomplish it, choices must be made that clearly identify and establish priorities. In stage 2, we determine acceptable evidence. In other words, how will we know if students have achieved the desired results? What will we accept as evidence of understanding and/or proficiency? The backward design approach thus requires teachers to consider and decide up front what artifacts, activities, exams will be used to determine academic success, even before any lessons or activities are implemented, assessed, or planned. The third stage in backward design is to plan student learning experiences and instruction. This final instructional design step is strictly guided by the already established learning objectives and predetermined evidences of understanding. Wiggins and McTighe draw our attention to several key questions to help select the most effective instruction. Among them are what enabling knowledge and skills will students need in order to perform effectively and achieve desired results? What activities will best equip students with the needed knowledge and skills? These questions, among others, help teachers keep instruction accurate and purposeful. It is important to understand that when we speak of evidence of desired results, we are referring to evidence gathered through a variety of formal and informal assessments during a unit of study or a course. We are not alluding only to end-of-teaching tests or culminating tasks. Rather, the collected evidence we seek may well include traditional quizzes and tests, performance tasks and projects, observations and dialogues, as well as students' self-assessments gathered over time. Finally, it is critical to recognize student achievement as an essential indicator on whether or not learning has or is taking place. However, waiting for this data prior to the implementation of needed interventions is a reactive response and a traditional teaching practice. Instead, proactive planning for academic success should be the center of attention, which includes effective teaching approaches like backwards design.